So welcome back, sir. So GNM is so much revolutionary, and it has got so many revolutionary things, and it is refuting the existing theories and other things. But anything of this sort is not taught in medical school regarding the importance of brain as controlling center of organs and tissues of the body and as a mediator between the psyche and body. Why?
Exactly, Dr. Asana. And that is the tragedy of the conventional medicine that is being taught to the people all over the world. Conventional medicine gives no significance to brain as it deserves. It is not over with the revolutionary finding of the biological handedness, which I explained. The principle of gender, laterality, and hormone status is another very important theory of German new medicine. And that is also very much related to brain. It determines whether a conflict should impact on the right side or left side of the cerebral cortex. Hormone status determines whether the conflict impacts in a male fashion or female fashion. So hormonal imbalance can occur due to impact of conflicts in brain. This is really revolutionary. I have never learned this earlier because a conflict can strike at a particular side of the cerebral cortex and cause the hormonal imbalances, and that will reflect in the so-called diseases or the so-called symptoms. So hormone imbalance can occur due to impact of conflicts. In order to understand the so-called psychiatric illnesses, the schizophrenic constellations he is calling, the brain control and the theory of gender, laterality, and hormone status is of utmost importance.
So, what is the essence of second biological law? Is there anything again revolutionary there?
We cannot limit to the first biological law. We are moving on to the second biological law. Actually, second biological law in which Dr. Archana has made a presentation, and it's really revolutionary. It's really revolutionary. It states that every disease runs in two phases, provided there is a resolution of the conflict. So all the symptoms we ascribe to a disease occur only in conflict active phase or conflict healing phase. Very serious symptoms can occur during a particular very characteristic phenomenon called epileptic crisis that happens during the healing phase. So his discovery that in order to facilitate a conflict resolution, some organs and tissues have cell proliferation during the conflict active phase and cell loss and tissues, cell loss during healing phase, and that some organs and tissues have cell loss during conflict active phase and cell proliferation during the healing phase is really revolutionary. With the knowledge of evolution and embryology, he found that the organs and tissues derived from the endoderm and old mesoderm and the cerebellum and those derived from the new mesoderm. I'm repeating, with the knowledge of evolution and embryology, he found that the organs and tissues derived from the endoderm and old mesoderm are controlled from the brainstem and cerebellum, and those derived from the new mesoderm and ectoderm are controlled from the cerebral medulla and the cerebral cortex. It's a really revolutionary, it's unthinkable that such a beautiful knowledge he has given to the world, and this knowledge is going to rule the future generation regarding the disease development, etc. I have no doubt. Okay.
So, by these cell multiplication and cell loss, Dr. Hammer is explaining cancers, I think. Is it right, sir?
Yes. In almost all the cancer cases, there is this particular phenomenon happening. Either there will be a cell loss or cell multiplication. So the cancers or the malignant diseases, according to conventional medicine, is not there in GNM. But we keep the word cancer in order to make things understandable. We don't have a concept of cancer, but we use the term, same term of cancer. That's all. There are no abnormal cells. That's the beauty of it. Whatever is there as so-called abnormal cells or unwanted cells, disposable cells, they are all nature's processes. And for the nature, they are all meaningful. Therefore, they are not abnormal cells. Even though we are calling those cells disposable cells or temporary cells, etc., they will be removed by the activity of the bacteria, microbes. There are tubercular bacteria, ordinary bacteria, there are fungi. So all this can remove those extra growths, but they are not abnormal. They are not abnormal. So every cell multiplication is normal according to German New Medicine. If the rate of cell growth goes beyond a level fixed by the conventional medicine, they call it malignancy or malignant diseases. If less than that rate which they have prefixed, they call it a benign. So all so-called cancer cells are as per the plans of nature. That is what GNM says. Whether cell loss or cell increase, it is to serve a purpose of nature, to make the corresponding organ stronger than before, to meet with a similar conflict in future. Conventional medicine fails to explain why new cells are formed and why old cells are destroyed in the body in case of cancers. Therefore, the findings of Dr. Hammer will definitely make a revolution in future, not only in the field of medicine, but that is going to influence the whole of the human life. That's my belief.
So the cell loss or the cell multiplication is nothing but adaptability to cope with the psychic conflict. So what are the other revolutionary concepts Dr. Hammer has given through the second biological law?
There are a number of number of concepts that Dr. Hammer has explained through the second biological law. It's a long list again. Here I would like to highlight a very revolutionary explanation by Dr. Hammer for the chronic diseases. The understanding of chronic diseases, why it recurs, why it prolongs, why it happens again and again. And that is how he has explained this chronicity. It's a very beautiful explanation. See, as a homeopath, I was given the understanding till I met GNM that the only cause of chronic diseases is the disposition or the constitution or predisposition we call in homeopathy the chronic miasms. Only Dr. Hammer gave the concepts of hanging conflict, hanging healing, tracks. So these are all very, very revolutionary concepts. I don't have much time to explain because the cause of chronicity in diseases are due to the tracks or the conflicts are being repeatedly coming. And that is the reason why a healing is also repeatedly coming, or that is called hanging conflict and hanging healing and tracks, because that's a different concept. And tracks are there with every production of disease conflict activity there will be. I have felt very often that GNM gives us a very useful tool like our GPS, Global Positioning System. Global Positioning System helps us to find the embryonic, or in the case of travelers, we use it for finding the exact place where we are in. But in the case of disease or the medical science, we can use GNM as a GPS because it is a global positioning system that helps us to find the embryonic germ layer of origin of tissue or organ, tissues or organ, from which embryonic germ layer it has come, derived, originated. So that understanding will lead us to a very long way to find out what type of conflicts they are sensitive or vulnerable, and what sort of reactions will happen, etc. So these are all really revolutionary knowledge that we are getting from the second biological law. Then we can proceed to find the brain control center, then to the specific psychic conflict. That is how. So from the organ to the brain and to the psychic conflicts. You can be free from the fear of disease based on ignorance. That is, the fear is actually caused because of the ignorance. You come to the light of the, you understand what exactly is happening with the body, and it is because of a conflict, and the body is naturally reacting. Then you can be free from the fear of diseases. So you can downgrade the conflict. That is another principle that he has. There are certain conflicts that we cannot resolve. For example, if the husband of a lady is no more, he died, and he is not ready to get married again in order to resolve her conflict of widowness or this. And therefore she makes an adjustment, or she makes the seriousness or the intensity of the conflict in that way that yes, she's downgrading the conflict and trying to learn to live in a way that is okay for her. And therefore this downgrading of conflict is another very important concept Dr. Hammer gives to this word.
So like the DPS, it is the program functioning systems you were saying. So at the point of the sufferings or discomforts, which are essential to all the diseases, what GNM has to offer to the individual in distress? Because GNM never advocates any drugs to relieve the symptoms you said.
Yes, it is truth. It is nothing but truth. We don't advocate, or GNM doesn't advocate any use of any chemical drug to suppress any of the nature's symptoms, whether it is pain, whether it is itching, whether it is swelling, anything. Therefore, if we know, it may not be believable for many. If we know that, oh, this is because of this, then the suffering it causes, let it be a pain, let it be a fever, a temperature, let it be a swelling, it can be understood in terms of these 5 biological laws. Then the intensity of the suffering or the discomfort that the symptoms can produce in a body or in an individual, in an organism, can be minimized to the minimum. Nature never gives any suffering beyond one's bearability. So once, because we don't advocate to take this disease forward, when somebody starts suffering, then itself, at the first day itself, from the very beginning itself, he can understand, oh, this tumor is because of this. I had this conflict, and therefore I have this tumor. I have this headache because of this. Because you see, in my clinical practice, I have been to patients who are suffering from 27 years, 25 years of migraine. They are calling it is migraine. It is nothing but headache. And that is because of a conflict impact in the brain. It is nothing but HH. But they are not knowing. They are having the impression that they are sufferers, or they are diagnosed as sufferers of migraine, and it cannot be cured. And they are sufferers of diabetes, it cannot be cured. There are sufferers of, they are diagnosed with some other disease which there is no cure, you go on taking drugs. This is not there in GNM. GNM can explain disease from the very beginning. And another aspect that Dr. Hammer also said, and I strongly believe, Voltaire, he was a French thinker or writer. Voltaire has said, at that time there was no microscope, there was no medical equipments, there was no diagnostic tools. At that time he said the secret, because he was a thinker, and he said that the secret of medicine is to distract the patient. Only if you can distract your mind from the sufferings, then you can be relieved of the sufferings. So that's a wonderful contribution by Dr. Hammer. It's a reality. It is from my clinical experience I'm telling. So in modern times, instead of distracting, we are more concentrating on the symptoms in panic and agony due to the frightening by the pharma or medical industries. The understanding that diseases are all beneficial programs of nature gives confidence in the patient. He can downgrade the conflict, remove the hanging conflict, get free from the tracks, the reassurance that every disease is a healing process. Wait for the conflicts to get resolved by time. Another person also can help to resolve the conflict in a person. The forgetting or forgiving is a very important or very, very useful tool for relieving or get out of these conflicts. The knowledge of 5 biological laws of nature, that will definitely help somebody to come out of these conflicts and thereby the sufferings and the discomforts that the disease, so-called disease, will produce in an individual. So understanding that the patient himself is the master of this procedure is the most beautiful thing in German new medicine. So we don't need to depend on somebody, some another person, a physician, a hospital, a doctor, a medical personnel. No. So in GNM, if somebody knows this 5 biological laws, he can very well come out of this situation and he can take care of his health and can die at a time when God has designed him to die, not the hospital people designed him to die. So that is the beauty of GNM. We are the masters of our own health. We are the masters of our own organism, including the psyche. We can have an introspection. We can have a supervision of our own mind. What is the business going on in our mind? And why this particular brain affection? And why does this particular tumor? Why this particular swelling? Why particular swelling? So that's what exactly it is. And therefore, there is no meaning in telling that disease means a suffering. No. If somebody knows what exactly is a particular symptom, why it happened, then it is very easy to come out of this symptom, come out of this further worsening in the form of complications, etc. And therefore, the knowledge is very useful. So all the knowledge of GNM will minimize the sufferings in any individual. And exactly if somebody calls it GNM therapy, it is nothing but this understanding. Or making, if doctors are using GNM therapy, or somebody qualifies himself as a therapist, GNM therapist, in addition to homeopathy practitioner, or any extra field he is having, the GNM therapy simply means to make the person, not calling him as a patient having some pathology. No, the person who approaches a therapist can be assisted by that person who knows GNM in a better way. That's only explanation. So somebody knows it better, somebody knows not that better, and he can help the other person. He can explain. And that is how this knowledge is supposed to percolate in the society, among humanity, and that is how the GNM is going to be beneficial for the humanity in future.
So you mean to say that the mere understanding of the meaning of symptoms will prevent the patient from sufferings and major complications also?
Yes, that is what I was telling Archana. I can say it's absolutely right. The mere understanding, because nature doesn't do anything harmful. Mere understanding of the meaning of the whatever may be the symptom, whether it is happening in the conflict active phase. Yes, a therapist can say very well. Somebody knows the GNM can say, oh, you are in the conflict active phase. You are in the healing phase. This is urinary phase. This is Kari phase. This is epileptic crisis. So a person who knows GNM can help the other person, giving him understanding that, yes, this is okay. And therefore, it can take away the fear from the individual who approaches that therapist. If one knows GNM and his 5 biological laws of nature, he will be able to understand his symptoms better, and itself can prevent many of the complaints and going into the scare of diseases. So there are specific symptoms during conflict activity, because this is understandable by any individual. If he knows GNM, he will lose his interest in daily activities. He may withdraw from his routine activities. He may become nervous. He can be restless. His heart rate may go high. BP can go high. Digestion will slow down. Frequent urination can be there. Little appetite will be there. There may be cold hands. Compulsory thinking about the conflict. There will be disturbance in the sleep. So these are few of the symptoms that any person who is in conflict activity, that means with these symptoms, because they are all diseases for the common, the conventional medicine. No, there is a reason, and that is important. Somebody comes to a doctor and says, doctor, I am having sleeplessness, and that is my problem. So I used to say, no, you are having a problem, and that is why you are sleepless. So that way, if I'm going to explain all these symptoms, there is a reason in the psychic level, and our duty is to find out and make the patient, whether he agrees or not, that this cannot be changed because this is nature's law. So similarly, there are very specific symptoms during healing phase also, because most of the symptoms are coming during the healing, and that very understanding itself is consoling and helpful for the individual who is suffering. And that is like this. These symptoms, so at present people do not know that a fatigue, for example, an increased appetite, slow pulse, low BP, warm hands, etc. are healing symptoms. They become panicky at the sight of an edema anywhere in the body. Let it be under the eyeballs or under the eyelids. Let it be on the pedal edema in the feet. Let it be in the abdomen. Any part of the body, they are frightened. Around an ankle joint or around a joint, they are frightened, thinking that no, this is not good. Edema is not good. Swelling is not good. Similarly, they say pain is not good. Whereas pain is a good symptom. It's unbelievable and difficult to digest. Pain is good. Yes, pain is good. So, in inflammation, any discharge, any pain, any itching, they are all good symptoms happening in any body during the healing phase. They do not know that headache occur during healing of the brain symptoms, or brain level healing is headache. Nobody teaches like that. Oh, you have headache. There are medicines to suppress this headache. So there are many other healing symptoms to make an all uninformed person panicky and scared about the symptoms. So that's the beauty of German New Medicine. All symptoms can be explained.
So you told it very beautifully, sir. So a person who has the right knowledge of GNM can call himself a therapist, and he can provide the same knowledge to the person who is coming to him without giving any medicines, simply by assisting him to get himself aware of what is happening to him. So that is a very good thing, sir.
That's
So earlier,
GNM.
yeah, yes, sir. Earlier you said according to GNM, there are no cancer cells and there is no metastasis. Then how will you explain a brain tumor, sir?
Yes, Dr. Archana, it's a common belief that if we find a tumor in the brain, it must have been a secondary transferred or traveled from somewhere else. Actually, the explanation of the development of brain tumor is a very beautiful one given by Dr. Hammer. So brain tumors are in reality Hammer focuses occurring at the instance of every DHS in the brain. Thereafter, it undergoes various changes and hence various shapes or forms. They are not composed of any so-called cancer cells migrated from any other location in the body through the blood or lymph. Brain tumors are in reality caused by the glial cells coming in the repairing stage to repair the damage caused by the conflict activity, and therefore the damage happened on a neuron. They are repaired by the glial cells having a gluey nature. They are having a pasty or sticky, and they are sufficient to repair the damage. And without understanding that, so depending upon the intensity of the conflict, the size of the tumor will vary from small to large. And when we find, or when the doctors find a tumor in the brain, they will definitely operate, telling that this is because of this tumor that this particular symptom is developing. It is not that way. It is because of the conflict that the body is trying to heal, and it is not going to do any harm, any damage for the individual. Leave it there alone. And the epilepsy or the dizziness or the headache or the chronic migraine, these are not caused by the tumor, but the conflicts happened and body is trying to repair by making the brain tumors to happen in the brain. In reality, they are composed of glial cells formed during the latter part of the healing phase called PCLB. Another beautiful repair activity of nature. Another revolutionary explanation by Dr. Ham in relation to the second biological law. For example, simultaneous with the coronary artery program, there occurs a scar formed in the right temporal lobe. He found in the opposite side. Then it is related to a conflict of cervix related program. So by the finding of any tumor, so-called tumor, it is not all are dumb, or they are repairing aspects or repairing activity done by the body.
Okay. So brain tumors are the manifestations of the healing, you say?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So next question is, earlier you said that very popular belief of allergy also is refuted by Dr. Hammer. Can you please explain little more about the GNM concept of the so-called allergic diseases, sir?
Sure, it's a big chapter and I don't have much time, Dr. Hammer proved that there are no allergens in this world. Every so-called allergic diseases can be explained by the concept of tracks. Nature is supporting us through some warning signals called tracks. Tracks are important for all such recurring conditions known as allergies. The so-called allergic diseases are the replay of biological special programs of organs like nose, skin, throat, bronchi, intestine, etc. There are no antigen allergy reactions. There is no immune system. As explained by using the concept of hanging conflict, hanging healing tracks, etc., extended tracks. This is a beautiful, which I'm not going to explain. This concept of extended tracks. When somebody starts with a particular allergy, then he goes on allergic to a number of materials. So these are all explained by using the concept of extended tracks in German new medicine. So the new revelation by Dr. Hammer about the well-established allergic theory is nothing but a revolution. So refuting the concepts already existing among people because of the teachings of the conventional medicine.
So what are the revolutionary ideas Dr. Hammer brought to the world through the third biological law of nature?
It's also equally revolutionary, equally a big chapter, and Dr. Hammer suggested for a total revolution in the medical education. He said the medical textbooks of future will no longer assign diseases to specific disciplines, as we see, ophthalmology, this is gynecology, this is orthopedics, this is like that. There will not be any chapters in future, and the medical textbooks of future will no longer assign diseases to special disciplines, but will instead categorize them according to their embryonic germ-layer relations. The new medicine offers a reliable scientific system that allows a classification of diseases in line with embryological aspects. The third biological law is full of revolutionary ideas based on embryology and evolution. The three primordial tissues, endodermal, mesodermal, and ectodermal, are found to be related to primitive, medieval, and modern concepts. All organs derived from endoderm, old mesoderm, new mesoderm, and ectoderm are controlled from the brainstem, cerebellum, cerebral medulla, and cerebral cortex, respectively. So this is a knowledge the humanity is going to enjoy in future because of the German new medicine. And I am definite that this will be taken up by the world if anybody is sincerely interested to know the truths behind health, disease, and cure.
It's truly interesting, sir.
Yes, revolution is not over. Dr. Hammer identifies death, fright, conflict, morsel conflicts, procreation conflict, etc. as the oldest biological conflicts or endodermal conflicts connected to organs and tissues of lungs, alimentary canal, and uterus, prostate, etc. So these are all wonderful ideas that GNM gives to the world. He identified attack conflicts next to the oldest biological conflicts of old mesodermal conflict and connected to the organs of tissues like corium, skin, pleura, peritoneum, and pericardium. Similarly, we found self-devaluation conflict as the third oldest or second newer biological conflicts or new mesodermal conflicts and connected with the tissues and organs like striated muscles, bones and joints, tendons and ligaments, connective tissue, fat tissue, blood vessels and lymphatics, etc. Lastly, the most modern conflicts of territorial issues, territorial conflicts, he found linked to the tissues of endodermal submucosa and lining of ducts, like bile ducts, pancreatic ducts, milk ducts, cervix, bronchial tubes, heart vessels, etc. So the GPS is working. That means we give the name of a particular tissue or organ, then it is very easy to go to the particular area where the brain is affected. That is how we can go back to the conflict that is working.
Okay. Is there any similar shocking discoveries through the fourth biological law of nature also, sir?
Definitely, every chapter, especially every biological law, is full of revolutions. And what to say, the fourth biological law is all about the beneficial role of microbes. I told already. That means the microorganisms in our body have beneficial roles to play in the so-called disease process. Not only that they cannot cause any disease or death, they help the healing process of our organisms. Microbes are not pathogenic, but they are found at the site of healing. That's the only thing, only reason for calling them as pathogenic, because they are there. They are present at the site of activity, at the site of healing. Microbes in our body multiply during the healing phase. For the optimum action of the microbes, the body temperature has to be elevated, and that is what nature does in cases of fever. So this understanding of the temperature business, the fever business, that alone is sufficient to give the humanity a lot of solace, consolation for the future. And that is what is offered by German New Medicine. Is this not really a revolutionary idea?
Truly.
Revelation?
Truly,
It's
sir.
a real revelation. The wisdom of Dr. Hammer is being shared by the world. And due to reasons you know, I am not going to explain this fourth biological law in a larger way because of reasons you also know. Why this microbe business, bacteria business, virus business is not going to be discussed at length because of the reasons you know.
Okay, sir. After explaining all the four biological laws of nature, what is revolutionary in the last and the fifth biological law of nature, sir?
Actually, the fifth biological law is the quintessence of all these biological laws, and therefore it is not something different. So here Dr. Hammer gives the definition, and that has to be learned by every individual in this world. What is disease? He gives this explanation like this. Every so-called disease, because in GNM there is no disease, but we use the term program. So what is the disease? Every so-called disease is a part of a significant biological program, special program of nature created to support or the assist an organism during unexpected distress. So there has to happen a distress, and that has to be unexpected. Then the body, the organism automatically switches on or triggers or kickstarts a program that is inherent in him and that is installed in him through generations, through a long period of time in evolution. It's not a new thing. Every human being born in this world, as being a part of the nature, he or she is installed with such a program, and that is being played. When? Because of this exciting cause of a conflict that is happening in the psychic level. That is the most important beauty. So to consider the phenomenon of disease as a biological program installed by nature in us is the greatest revolution that GNM offers to the world. So it's a new medical science. So world has already started learning it. It's a very short period of time. Dr. Hammer is no more for the last 5 years. We were fortunate to live during a period when Dr. Hammer lived in this world, and therefore we have to take this science to a longer extent.
Sure, sir. So, what message you have to give to the viewers on the World GNM Day celebration, sir?
So this day was very beautiful, very worthwhile, because I was talking on a subject which I wanted that everybody should listen and understand, because the GNM is a revolution. So the better, the earlier you are a part of this revolution, it will be helpful for you. So according to my understanding, I used to say like this: if a man has not known GNM and he died, he lost or he missed a very valuable knowledge in his life. So thank you, Archana, for your time. And it was a pleasure for me to be interviewed by you and being here as a part of my presentation on a topic and in connection with this great day of World GNM Day. So we in Global GNM wanted to pay our homage to the legacy, legendary soul of Dr. Hammer. At the same time, we had the wish that this celebration would help for the spread of GNM across the globe. I am thankful to all those who cooperated with me, all Global GNM members, all my core team members, especially Dr. Archana, Dr. Rana ji, Dr. Satish Kumar Rana, Suhail Abbas, Suha Abbas, and Danny Carroll, who is the organizing in charge. And lastly, we got Muhammad Ramis to help us in our technical side. I thank all of you from the bottom of my heart to make this day wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you very much for an enlightening session, sir. So we have got lots of things to learn from you through this session, sir. Thank you very much for the time, sir.
Thank you, Archana. Thank you all
sir.
for listening, for viewing my video. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.